we're seeing a little activity on the channel in the last couple of days, and it's all got to be because of T-Town Tim and some of the other puggers there. I see Godforsaken Customs has commented, and I appreciate that. That's a mile marker we've been waiting for, is just somebody to see it and just say something. I don't care if they said I was a dickhead or whatever, but just something. And so we appreciate that activity. Things been, we've got a few videos up now, and just haven't had any kind of interaction with people. But at the same time, I don't really talk much on the videos like you guys do, so I don't really open things up for discussion so much. But if you ever see anything in a video and you're wondering anything or whatever, let me know, and we'll definitely respond to it. That's for sure. So we really appreciate you guys, the few subscribers that have come on in the last few days. I know they're from they're a bunch of pug dicks, and just appreciate you guys jumping on and taking a look and seeing what we're about. So one of the videos that we've had planned for a while and I've been putting off is the story behind the Gremlin. And it's an alright story in my mind, and it lets everybody know what the Gremlin really means to us. Gremlin's more than just some hot rod that we happen to own. And so I thought I'd share that story with you guys today. Started out ever since I was a little wee popper, maybe about 10, 12 years old. My dad was a baggage handler or a ticket agent at the local bus depot for about 25 years. And ever since I was a little kid, I remember stories about one of his fellow employees, Chucky, had a Gremlin, and it had a 6-cylinder in it, and it had all this work done to it and whatnot, and how Chucky could come into the tarmac where the bus is parked and lay into that little 6-cylinder Gremlin and just burn the tires on it and stuff. And Dad loved that car. Stories about Chucky beating Stangs and Camaros and stuff at times and whatnot. Dad said it wasn't the fastest car around, but it was that little 6-cylinder could hold its own, and that's why he liked it. He loved that car. And he tried getting that car from Chuck for years. I can think of the last 15 years of Dad's life, he tried getting it regularly. Every time he seen Chuck, he tried to get him to sell it to him, and he just wouldn't. It was Chuck's first car, and he didn't buy brand new. It just had a few miles on it, though. It was like a year old, less than a year old. Somebody bought it and traded it in, and he had all the work done to it and whatnot. And Chuck had a few other cars. He had like a Vet, and he had a real nice hot rod 40s or 50s pickup that was all redone that he did. Anyway, Dad ended up with dialysis, and so did Chucky at one time. And Chucky went blind, and Dad lost his legs, and they were doing dialysis together. And every time they do dialysis, Dad tried to talk Chuck out of that car. And he had nothing of it. He was not getting rid of it. He got rid of everything else he owned, his other cars and everything, but he just didn't want to get rid of that one that really held that special place in his heart. And I was still going to college at the time. I was in my last year, and I was working at a nursing home washing dishes. And Chuck ended up in the nursing home. He started having some bad complications, and he wasn't there but just a couple months, and he passed away. And I let my dad know that his friend passed away, and he was bummed out because Dad wanted to do the right thing with that Gremlin, and he just swore up and down that Gremlin was just going to sit and rust from there on. He was really bummed out about it. But it was, it was just one of those things. You tried, but, it just didn't happen. So, about a month or so after Chuck passed, I was walking down the hallway at the nursing home, and one of the nurses, while I was walking by me, and she had her name tag on, and it had the same last name as Chuck. And anyway, I stopped her and I said, were you related to him? She said, yeah. And I said, you tell me, you know whatever happened to that gremlin? She says, that ugly thing. She says, I'd damn near pay you to take it. And I looked at her and said, sold. Sight unseen. I just knew the stories from Dad. And we talked a minute, and I said, figure out what you want for it. Let me know. She said, okay. So about lunchtime, she called down. She says, hey, why don't you give me $200 for that thing, and you can have it. And I said, all right, no problem. I'll bring the $200. So I was pretty excited. I called Dad. And you got to realize Dad was in a wheelchair with no legs at this point. He still talked about that gremlin all the time. And I called him and I said, you're never gonna believe what just happened. And he said, what? And I said, I just bought Chucky's old gremlin. He said, you what? And I said, yeah, I just bought Chucky's old gremlin. I said, and you ain't gonna believe what I paid for it. And he said, what? And I said, $200. He goes, son of a bitch. And I said, yeah. And he says, well, if you don't have the money, I'll give it to you to get it. I got the money, old man. Don't worry about it. So anyway, got the title and all that stuff for him and went up. But that thing was parked up on a hill in this alleyway. That hill is probably one of the steepest hills you would ever drive on. And it was under this car thing, covered up, and it was February or so, and the snow was still there, and the alleyway was just covered in ice. You couldn't even drive up it. I had to walk down to go see the car. And all I did was peeked under the cover and took some pictures, and I took them back down to Dad, and he was like, son of a bitch, that's the car. And anyway, I told him, I says, I'm not even going to try to go get it until the snow clears. And he was like, yeah, you don't want to risk it. So in March, Dad passed away, and he never got to see the car come home. He just got to see the pictures. And it must have been late April. One of my best friends from childhood, I was talking to him and telling him I needed to figure out a way to get this car downtown, get it off this hill. And he says, oh, I got the perfect thing for you. And called a good friend of mine, Tommy, or a good friend of his, and an acquaintance friend of mine that I've known for years, Tommy. And I'm just happened to have a trailer with a towing set up off of a truck mounted on it. So we went up and hooked the gremlin up to it and got it out of that alleyway. First of all, that was step one. The brakes were all locked up on it and everything. We had to try to get them undone. And then we commenced in pulling her across town. The brakes were still kind of messed up, and about 4 blocks from home, smoke started coming off the drums and stuff from the heat. And we got her home and unloaded her, and it was all cool. And I just kind of let her sit there because it was still snowy out to some degree, and it wasn't nice. Montana doesn't get nice until almost June. You just can't. Even in June, we can get snow where I'm at. So, I just didn't want to get into the project, and we were cleaning out the garage. It was at Dad's house, and we were cleaning out his stuff and everything, and selling stuff and whatnot. So it kind of sat there for a while, and just started one day. A friend of mine decided to go down and start doing work on it. And the first thing we wanted to do was just to see if it would run. And if we got her fired up, but the gas tank was all rusted out, and the fuel lines and the fuel pump were screwed up and everything, from sitting dried out. So that was where the work started. Right there, we redid the brakes, and we redid I ordered a gas tank. It took me almost 3 years to find a decent gas tank for that thing. You just can't order a new one. The AMC hasn't been in business for 20 years, so everything you get for this car is coming out of a junkyard or it's NOS. So anyway, we started to work on it. And I paid to have some work on it and done on it, a good amount. she's getting back into fighting shape. She's not finished by any means, and I don't mean to hot rod it out much more than what it already is, other than at some point I plan on getting another 6-cylinder and building a little batter-ass 6-cylinder for it. Most guys rip out the 6s and put the V8s in them and all that stuff, and I'm just not doing that. So anyway, that's the story behind the Gremlin and how we got a hold of it, and why I'll never get rid of it. I'll die in that car. I'll probably be buried in it. I'll be giving it. It'll be passed down in the family, I'm sure. But one of the goals that we want to do is, because the AMCs are getting so rare and so far in between, and few in between, we wanted to maybe do this channel, and at some point, if things line up, we'd like to spend maybe a year or so traveling around the United States and doing passes at various famous drag strips in the United States with the Gremlin, and filming it and sharing it with everybody. And I thought that would be a really neat thing to do, and maybe wind up in Kenosha, Wisconsin with the AMC show that they do there once a year. That's the biggest one in the U.S., I'm sure. And that's one of our other goals, is to make it to Kenosha and participate in the show, or at least drive the Gremlin to it. Anyhow, got a little bit more to do to it. I've got a little laundry list of things that need to be handled, and then there's the list of everything that I want to do to it. I'm planning on putting a roll bar in it, and a few other things, a couple safety features, and stuff like that for when we do get to that point. Even if we don't travel, I plan on taking it to the local strip once or twice just to see how she runs, and that was the whole goal. Even Dad wanted to run take it to the strip and run some laps with it. And they do bracket racing, so I should be able to do okay with a 6-cylinder as long as I can stay consistent. So that's kind of the whole idea. It was never meant to be a full-on show car. I plan on driving it. It's not one of those things where I just want to park it and leave it sit forever like what Chuck did, because it destroyed that car. Everything was rotten on it. It needs to be driven, it needs to be warmed up regularly, and that's what I plan on doing. Is I plan on keeping that car in excellent shape. It's not pristine, but it's pretty darn nice. And we just rolled over 42,000 miles, just over 42,000 here in the last year. And we're going to put some more mileage on it. We're going to put some miles on her. Not a ton, but I could see maybe putting 10,000 miles on it by the time I'm old and gray. Maybe something like that, maybe 15. Just depends. So that's it. That's the Gremlin. And you'll be seeing a lot more of it. You'll be seeing a lot more of it. And I'm excited about it, because I think that it's going to be the star of our channel eventually. I'm hoping anyway. So yeah. Anyhow, once again, thanks to you guys for these guys that have been being a little active, showing a little activity for us. And thanks for subscribing. We'd like to maybe try to use some of the ad revenue from YouTube if we can get the channel big enough and do enough fun stuff. Get enough subscribers, we'd like to use this channel as part of our income when we do the travel, the big travel. So we'll see what happens. If it don't work, hey, a bunch of nice people and hang out and do fun things and filming, so I'm all good for that. So thanks for watching, and I'd like to say thanks for subscribing. Leave a comment below. If you haven't subscribed, click that subscribe button. And we'll see you next time, probably in the Gremlin.